Hey guys, welcome back. V here. I don't know if you've noticed, if you're not new to my channel, like if you've been here a few times, this is new. This is brand new, brand new. I did it today. I like particularly these little things right here. I don't know if you can see them properly. I'll check probably when I edit it. But I just love this. I like having the lights in the backdrop. I like a little pop of color, and it's a calm, pretty environment for me to sit and feel comfortable talking to you guys, which is not always easy, by the way. So, hi. I have not named today's Granny Square, so if you would like to help me in naming some of these projects, the ones that I don't name, you can do so by leaving a comment, and if yours is picked, then I will feature it in my next video, where obviously we will be naming the item that needs to be named. So without further ado, we are going to get into this Granny Square. So let's grab our materials and get started. I'm recording the audio during the day, and my kids are watching My Little Pony and the newest release on Netflix. Something really weird. Anyways, they're watching that, so if you hear it in the background, I'm sorry. Or if you hear a squeal or scream somewhere coming in back, it's probably Haley just being Haley. Anyways, so we're going to start off with a chain 4. And you're going to do one double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. We're going to chain 2, and this is going to be your corner stitch, your first corner, and double crochet 2 more again into that 4th chain. Chain 2 more, and double crochet 2 more. Now we have 2 corners. Chain 2, there's Haley. Another 2 double crochet, and we're going to do a final chain 2 before we're going to join it to the, I guess, the last chain that you made in the chain 4 sequence. So it's that top chain, and your first row is done. You can join this in a different way if you would like, but this is just how I did it. Try to keep it simple. We're going to get into row 2. Now I'm putting in the diagrams, but you can get the full diagram. There's going to be a link in the description for you. You can get it directly on my blog where it's going to be accessible. You can download it there, or it's also going to be on my Facebook. So I'll make sure that you have access to it there as well. And we're going to do another chain 3, and this time we're going to work in every stitch around, and in the corners we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 2, and another 2 double crochet in the chain space. So we're going to go into our second set of double crochets here, and you're going to double crochet again into the next 2 stitches. We're just going to repeat this around. Now the first 5 rounds were really fun. They worked up really quick. But if you're like me and you're making the big square, the second part is only 4 rows and it took forever. It's literally 10 minutes longer than this one. And there's only 4 rounds. So if you want to make your full square, set yourself aside about an hour. You're going to need it. Now let's double crochet here. And hair. There's just so much hair that kept getting stuck in my, that was stuck in my yarn. It was driving me crazy. I'm sorry if I've been fidgety. I like to just straighten it out as I'm going. And double crochet again. Finish off this corner. Another 2 double crochet. There's Luna. And 1 more corner stitch. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So we're continuously joining with a slip stitch into that top chain. That's the same way all the way around. Whether you slip stitch it or you chain and slip stitch, you have to join in that top chain. This is the end of round 2. For round 3, we're going to be slip stitching 2 stitches over. I didn't put that in the diagram, by the way. I'm sorry about that. So we're going to slip stitch 1 into the next double crochet right next to it to the left, and slip stitch another one. Now we're chaining 3, and these little blocks that you're going to be working up are alternating, so it kind of looks like a checker, which is really cool. I don't know if you noticed in the actual description or in the thumbnail that they alternate. So it's nice striped checkered style. I still don't have a name for it, guys, okay? Bad. But I just love this square, and I'm going to be using it for a couple of more of my baby blankets. Now, for the corner, it's a little bit different than the last row. As long as you continuously skip 2, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So skip the next 2 stitches after your chain 2, insert your hook, and double crochet into this stitch and into the next stitch. So the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches. Now for the corner, as I was talking over the last one, we're going to chain 2. You're going to do 2 double crochet into this corner stitch and another 2 chains. So as long as there's 6 stitches in this corner at all times, you're good. So whether it be 2 chains with 4 stitches or 2 stitches with 4 chains, it alternates very randomly, actually. But as you can see, this is what it's going to look like, and those 2 double crochets are going to be the corner stitches for the next round, and we'll get more into that when we get there. So it separates, see, as you can see from row 1 to row 3, it looks like squares, checkered squares that are alternating. And you continue, chain 2, and skip 2, double crochet into the last 2 stitches of this row. We're going to chain 2 again. Oh, I got stuck there. Oh, and Haley and Drake are fighting. It's really fun being alone with the 4 kids all the time. There's always something going on in the background. I can rarely turn my back on them. Oh, and my ball. So, we get back to our chain 2, 2 double crochet in the corner, and chain 2. And double crochet in the last 2 stitches, or the first 2 stitches of the row. These are pretty simple rows. Beginning is really easy. When we get to the last 4, let me tell you that writing out the description, it's a little bit smaller, like way smaller, because it didn't want to fit in the description box. My little card, it just didn't fit. I'm starting to reconsider the size of these boxes because that was long. So for my video classes or my video lessons, I'm going to be reformatting that. And I think I'm just going to remove the box and just leave it a blank square so that I can use that for any notes that you may need to take or I may need to give you during. And I can even pop my face into there a little bit more easily. Because with the lines, I just can't do that. So we'll fix that. So I'm just going to finish up this row, and again, like with the first row, it's a chain 2 and then join with a slip stitch because we're joining on a blank square, or what's I guess kind of considered the void square of this side. I really fidget with this a lot, but I like to see how it's working up to make sure that it's shaping properly, because if the gauge isn't right, then it's not going to look good. Alright, so for row 4, now we're going to be doing another solid row. You notice the solid rows take a little bit longer because they're double the stitches. So chain 3, and we're going to double crochet into the next stitch and pretty much every stitch around. I'm just going to walk you through the corner. So we're going to double crochet here, 2 double crochet in the chain space. Now coming up to that corner, those 2 corner double crochets, you are going to do 2 double crochets in the first one, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Now chain 2 and repeat 2 double crochets in the next one. So this is mimicking what you were doing in your last round, the 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Only we had to work it over 2 stitches, so this is how I did it to make it even. Instead of working in between and then just opening, I wanted those 2 double crochet to stay closed, so I did it this way. So we're going to keep working around, 2 in each stitch, or 1 in each stitch and 2 in each chain space. And double crochet into the next stitch, next 2 stitches. And of course I'm placing it again, but see how pretty that is, and it just works out perfectly. It keeps it nice and closed in the corner, and it keeps the whole, it keeps the pattern going in the way that I wanted it to keep going, and I love it. So 2 more here. Sorry, Jade came in. It's literally everybody. It's one after another, as you can see, and I'm literally sitting through this and recording in pretty much one shot, and yeah, that's pretty bad. There's always something going on in the background. So continue this on, and I really don't think you need me for this part, but those corners can be tricky. So remember, 2 double crochet in the first corner stitch, chain 2, and then 2 double crochet in the next one, and then just 2 more in the chain space, 1 in each stitch. So I apologize. I tend to break out into song and dance. Really lucky you can't see me actually doing the wiggling and the dancing, which I tend to do a lot of. Very gestural. I'm very Broadway. I kind of like to just sing and dance about everything. So chances are you're going to see a little bit more of that the more I'm on camera. The more I get comfortable being on camera. Right now I'm getting comfortable being on mic. Hi, Mike. There we go, halfway through. We are almost done this row. We are almost done this row. I'm just sitting here and watching this. It's very relaxing. Back to our corner stitch. 2 double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 double crochet into that next stitch. Now that first one is a bit complicated to get the hang of, but I mean after this row you're going to be able to do it. You have to do it once more if you expand on this square. I think somewhere in row 7 or 8. I don't remember correctly, but it's somewhere in there. So by the time you get to that row, I mean, you just pretty much know what you got to do. And even when I was freehanding this, like I freehanded this pattern, and when I was freehanding this, I had to keep checking back to how I did that first corner because it wasn't registering even in my brain how I had turned the corner and made it work for me in that stitch. By the time I got the last one though, it was fine. I was able to do it, but then, moved on, and next row doesn't have this, FYI. So you don't have to worry about that little corner stitch anymore. There's my chain 2, and that last corner. Almost done. By the way, if you haven't noticed, the ball of yarn has been getting very annoying. I had it on the table with me, and not good. Not good. I need to come up with a way to keep my ball out of frame, or at least from rolling around in front of me while I'm working, even if I'm not recording. So if you have any suggestions, I could really use them. Please, let me know, please. Help. Help, my balls of yarn are coming at me all the time. I love yarn, but, I don't want to be attacked by it. Now let's join this one. We're almost done. We got one more row. If you're making the baby blanket, this is where you're going to be stopping at the end of the next row. And it's actually not that bad. Like, honestly, for a 20-minute square, you can do this pretty quickly. I mean, you can make up 3 squares like this in about an hour, or just make the really big one like I went crazy. But you could make 3 of these in an hour, and a baby blanket with these size squares requires maybe 30 squares. I know it sounds like a lot, but when you're sitting down every night for a couple hours watching TV and you're just crocheting, you could get out quite a few squares. So I mean, give yourself a week and you've got a pretty blanket. Ta-da! So now we're going to get into row 5. This is also a checker row. So it's basically half stitching. It's 2 double crochet and chains. So as we did with the first one, or with row 3, technically, slip stitch 2 stitches over so that you are right above that empty gap. There we go. Chain 2 and skip 2, get into that corner chain 2 space, and again chain 2, 2 double crochet, or double crochet, chain 2 with double crochets. Your regular corner chain, corner stitch. See? It's kind of like an extended V. So chain 2, skip those 2. You see right over that open square from the bottom row, that's where we're going to be doing this one, those 2 stitches. Chain and skip. Get over that next space. See, they line up. They literally line up. So if you're not sure, follow your chain space from row 2, row 3, or the stitches from row 2, and you can line it all up. Impossible to get confused. And the more that you crochet, the more you're going to recognize your stitches and their placement, and it's going to take a lot less time to place yourself in your mind while you're working on a pattern or a project. And we're back into that corner again, 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. I'm trying to talk over Jade and Luna having a conversation in the background in the other room. Then we've got one side. We're going to work up the last 2.5, almost 3 sides. And this is where you could start joining, whether it be on this side or the next one. You can start joining it to other squares. If this is the first square you're making, make it completely. You won't be able to join it to anything if there's nothing to join it to. So make it completely from start to finish. And then you can follow some of my other instructional videos on how to join seamlessly. I don't stitch up my squares, so I don't think I'm going to have a tutorial out for that anytime soon. The only time I'm going to be doing that is when I work on a garment project. So when I do, I promise I'll show you guys how I do it, how I do my joins and my stitching, how I whip stitch and everything. But I prefer to do it with a crochet hook, to be honest. I just find it so much easier crocheting. And then there's a lot less tails to deal with, and I don't have to worry about about skipping a stitch somewhere. I just find it easier to keep track of, and I find it easier to teach a beginner this strategy as opposed to having to bring in new techniques, new things. Like someone who doesn't sew probably doesn't have needles, or the basic knowledge of sewing. So trying to make it as easy as possible. You already have a hook and you already have your yarn, and you're pretty much working in the same gauge with the same hooks and the same yarns. So you have everything you need on hand. You don't need to add a needle. You don't need anything other than another pair of scissors, just to cut off when you're done. Ooh, coffee. Sorry. It's been a long morning. I tried to get this audio done last night. I got part 2 done. Part 1, however, was unsuccessful. When I started getting into recording this part, Luna woke up at about 10:55 p.m. and refused to go back to sleep until I joined her. So I didn't come back. I'm doing this right now as early as I possibly can, and I think it is 9:12. By the time I'm done, I'm going to be uploading, so hopefully it will be saved and uploaded by 10 in my usual upload time. I'm sorry if I'm late this week, guys. It's been a very crazy week. Usually it's not this crazy. I can, hash out 2 tutorials in a week, or at least a vlog and a tutorial. But this one turned out to be a lot longer than anticipated, and it literally took the whole week to put it together. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this square and listening to me ramble on. If you want to hear me ramble even more while you're completing it, you can always pop into part 2 and just listen to me, because that's basically all I do. Most of it is just us chatting, or me chatting with you. Considering by the time you get to round 6, you've pretty much mastered the pattern, the alternating pattern. You don't really need me to guide you. And at the same time, you have access to all the entire description, all the details, so the written up pattern. And if you look down in the description, you can find the links to pretty much everything you need. The diagram, hooks, yarns. If you don't have any already, you can go and use my links. They are affiliate links, so I do earn a commission. However, it's not at your expense, it's at the company's. So let's make them pay. They already make enough money. This is the end of part 1. You can actually stop making your blanket here and make a bunch of different squares with 5 rounds. You can even make it with the other granny squares that I featured in my other videos. But this is a great size if you want to make a baby blanket.